everybody, it's Papa Dan back again with another exciting episode of Dan's Free Ideas, where I give my ideas away because I can't seem to make them happen, but maybe you can. I'm going to do a little observation before I get to my idea. I have this new segment, I guess, in the never-ending quest to bring you variety, the philosophical outlook on people. So we'll give it a try. You know, in life, there's all kinds of people. There's some people that you tell them the stove is hot, and they say, okay, thank you very much. And I think I'm off center. Here we go. I like to be in the center. You tell them the stove is hot, and they say, okay, thank you very much. I won't go near the stove. And you got another group of people, you tell them the stove is hot, and they got to go over and put their hand on the stove and get burned. And then they, oh, you were right. Thank you for telling me. I won't go near the stove. Then there's another group of people that you got to kind of pick them up and sit them on the stove for a little while before they realize that, yes, the stove is hot, and it might be a good idea to stay away. Then finally, you have the last group, and these are the people I say are wearing the asbestos underwear of ignorance and oblivion. And no matter how long you hold them on that stove, they just ain't going to get it. Kind of like the frog in the boiling water. So all kinds of people make up the world today, and sometimes it's best to recognize who they are and just let them be who they are and sit in the boiling water. So anyway, that's my philosophical outlook on people for today. The idea, now I try to keep these videos as short as I can, 3 minutes or less, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that with this idea because it's a little bit too big. This is an idea that I gave to a friend of mine who knew somebody at FEMA, and he came back and told me that FEMA thought it was a great idea, but nothing ever came of it, so I don't know what happened there. That was about 20, 25 years ago. So here's the idea. In places where you have a lot of natural disasters, particularly hurricanes, let's say in Florida, build parking garages that will double as emergency shelters. And I understand that some places don't need as much parking as you'll get out of a parking garage, but I'll get to that later. The idea being that in the core of the building, the center of the building, you would have what they call a chase, which is a kind of a boxed-in area that goes from floor to floor. And on the ground floor, you would have your emergency shelter supplies like cots and blankets and maybe boats and things like that. On the second floor, you have a small office area to run the place. And then you would have your food, you'd have a kitchen, a place to get a hot meal. You could have showers and then incinerator toilets, because if it's a hurricane and everything's flooded, you can't flush a toilet anyway, so switch to incinerator toilets. Have the same sort of setup on the third and fourth floors. And then on the roof of the building would be sort of like a cistern to catch the rainwater you would use in your showers. And then you would also have solar panels in storage and a generator in storage. And after the storm hits, you kick on the generator, you roll out the solar panels to power the whole building. Now, I'm well aware that, parking garages, there's going to be oil on the floor or whatever. It's not going to be the cleanest place. So when you know that a storm is coming, you clean it as best you can. You just wash it all down as best you can. But you also keep sheets of cardboard. And when somebody or a family arrives at the shelter, you take them to a particular parking space, which will be numbered. And you put a couple of pieces of clean cardboard on the floor to give them a place where they can set up and have, a parking space, I believe, is usually 9 feet by 18, something like that. So you should be able to fit, a family of 4 in a parking space if it's just sleeping. And I think what also might be nice is if you put eyelets in the ceiling so you can hang a sheet of cardboard to separate people from one another a little bit, give a little bit of privacy, because part of the stress that comes with this, with us, trying to make it through a storm in emergency shelter, is that you lose all your privacy. You're just in the middle of a room with a bunch of other people, and you're dealing with your grief and your sorrow, and you're surrounded by people, and you have nowhere to get, as I say, a little bit of privacy. So that might be helpful. And this way too, if someone shows up at a shelter and says, I'm looking for the Smith family, they look, oh, parking space 212, and then you can go and find them easily and quickly. Now, of course, as I say, you're not going to need a parking garage in all these locations. So what do you do? Well, take the top 2 floors and set them up with grow lights. So you can have a community garden, you could have a flea market, you could have a farmer's market. You could do a couple of different things to make utility out of the, let's say, the 3rd and 4th floors. So that's the idea. Build parking garages that double as emergency shelters. So I was calling it the Municipal Emergency Garage System. And that was MEGS, M-E-G-S. Back then, that's what I called it. But anyway, that's the idea for this week. It's not a moneymaker for everybody, but if you happen to be connected with anybody who could build something like that, I think it's a pretty good idea. And it's obvious that we could use these the way things are going these days with the storms getting more severe and more frequent. So anyway, From this side of the monitor to your side of the monitor, hope everything is going well. Hope everything is healthy and fine by you. And I look forward to seeing you again next time on Dan's Free Ideas. Take care. Bye-bye.